This may be the first year that you've had to lodge your STP, your Single Touch Payroll finalisation to the ATO. You may be freaking out. It's a new system, it's new procedures for a lot of businesses. And in this video, I'm going to run through on the screen the 7 steps that you need to go through to successfully lodge your STP to the ATO. My name is Ed Johnson from XDO Bookkeeping Services. Today I'm going to be using the Xero demo file. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. If you're using a different software, still use the same 7 steps. It may look a little bit different, but it's the same process. So step number 1 is we just want to make sure all the pay runs for the year are completed. So you'll go to your payroll history, payroll pay employees here. And there's a few things we want to check. One is all these old pay runs that have been completed are filed. That's your normal filing that you do. We want to make sure there's nothing in draft that's still outstanding, like here's one in draft that needs to be finished and filed. And then check that there's no adjustments and no additional pay runs that need to be processed in the financial year, so that everything on this screen is complete, accurate, and fully filed to the ATO. Then you're ready to move on. So step number 2 is we want to check the wages clearing account. Let me show you what I mean by this. So if you go to accounting and account transactions, we're going to find the wages clearing account. Now in Xero, this is called wages payable. It's not actually in the demo system, so I'll show you on another screen in a moment. But you find one called wages payable and run it for the financial year. In your accounting system, it could be called payroll clearing, wages clearing, net wages payable, something like that. Once you run that for the year, you'll get a report that looks something like this. You've got all the transactions in the wages clearing account, you've got the debits and you've got the credits. What the credits are showing you is this is what the payroll system is saying, hey, I have processed this net wage. The debits are saying, this is the bank saying, this is the money that's gone out of the bank account. Ideally, we want the two to be matching all the time. So you can see here, $617 processed in the payroll system, $617 left the bank account. And we just want to see that in and out all the way down, exactly like this report. And at the bottom, we wanted to see a 0 variance. If that variance at the bottom is not 0, if there is a variance there, it can mean 3 things. One is you've processed something in your payroll system that's never been paid from the bank, or you've paid something from the bank that was never processed in your payroll system, or there's some other transactions being posted in here that don't belong there. That's very important to resolve before you go any further. So find out what the issue is, why there's a variance, fix it up in payroll, fix it up in your accounts, make sure that variance is zero, and then you can move on to step 3. Step number 3 is a little bit more complicated. We're just going to compare a couple of reports in the system to make sure there's a balance between the payroll system and the general ledger. So we've checked the payroll system in the bank. Now we're checking the payroll against the general ledger. So let's go back to Xero here. Step 3, the first report is you want to get a single page snapshot of your whole payroll system. Best report for this in Xero is your payroll activities summary report here. Now, make sure you've got the right period. So I'm in June, so I'm going to run it for this financial year. If you're running this in July, you'd select last financial year, click update, all employees. And you can just see this report gives you a summary of all your earnings items, deductions, tax, super, etc. Grouped together and given in totals. Leave that open. Step 4, run a report called a general ledger report. So go to accounting reports. Down here under accounting, you'll see one called general ledger. Just click on that. And just make sure you've got that running for the same period. So we want 1 July 2019 to 30 June 2020. Click on update. Now what we're looking for here is to make sure that the payroll totals in the general ledger correspond to the payroll totals in the payroll system. Now I can tell you now in this demo system, they're not matching. So it's a good example to show you. You'll see here, the main one you'll find in most businesses is this one, wages and salaries, which will generally correspond to this earnings section up the top here. So you can see here, we've got a total earnings figure here, which is completely different to the wages and salaries. That needs to be checked. There's either things being posted in the general ledger to the wrong place, or there's something wrong in the payroll system. Those figures should be balancing. Same with your PAYG and your superannuation. You want to check the totals that you've got in your general ledger against these totals here in the payroll report. Now, hopefully when you do this, you'll just see direct correspondences and you can move on. But if you don't, they need to be checked. It does get a bit confusing too with opening balances if you've started your payroll partway through the year or converted to your accounting software partway through the year. So they need to be checked off as well. But overall, if you're matching there, you can just move on to the next step. So that's step 3 and step 4. Step number 5, we're now going to go to the Single Touch Payroll system and just review what's going to be submitted to the ATO. So if you click on Payroll here, Single Touch Payroll. First thing you'll notice up the top, just make sure we've got the right tax year, because you can select different tax years. So we want 1920 for this video. Then you'll see a couple of attentions. Okay, Xero's telling us about those pay runs that hadn't been filed. So we'd go back and file all those individual pay runs. And then we've got this finalisation activity that's due by the 14th of July. So we'll click on that. Now, if you've got fringe benefits tax, that needs to be done manually. So I'm not covering that in this particular video. If you've got fringe benefits tax, check out what you need to do with that before you finalise your STP. If you don't have fringe benefits tax, just keep going with these steps. Now, we're not going to finalise anything yet. We're going to click on everybody, all the employees, and we're going to export them to a CSV file. Now, the beauty of doing this is you can see exactly in every detail what your system is going to send to the ATO before it gets sent. So this is like an overview. It's got everything, the employees' details, dates, all the pay amounts, reportable super, etc., etc. So this is a really good one to check right at the end before you finalise. Make sure you're happy that there's nothing weird, there's nothing strange there, there's nothing popping up that just looks odd. That gives you a chance to back out, go back, check it all again, and find out what the issue is. That's step 5. Step number 6 is just a final check. So go back over your steps, anything that's identified in your pay runs, your wages payable, comparing the reports, the finalisation, your fringe benefits tax, double check that everything's been processed. Maybe just review a couple of those reports again, make sure it's all balancing. Then you're ready to file. So step 6 is just that final overall global check. And step 7 is the easy part. If you've done all that, the final thing is click on Finalise and Submit to ATO, put in your authorization, click on Submit, and you'll get this pending message, which will eventually turn into a filed message, or it may alert you to an error at that point. So follow those steps. It's a lot easier to identify errors before you file, and rather than try to undo them after you've filed and need to fix it and make corrections. If you've gotten that far and you've filed it, congratulations on your first Single Touch Payroll. Well done. If you're stuck and you need a hand, please reach out. We're here to help. Again, my name's Ed Johnson from XGO Bookkeeping Services, and have a great day.